Scene opens with Chloe looking distraught, sitting on a park bench. Mark approaches her. Mark, Chloe, there you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. What's wrong? You disappeared after the meeting. Chloe, sighs, Mark, it's my grandmother. Her old house, it's falling apart. The roof leaks, the plumbing is a mess, and I just don't have the money to fix it. The bank denied my loan application today. They said I'm not financially stable enough. I feel so helpless. Mark sits beside her. Hey, we'll figure this out. I can help. I have some savings and I know some people who... Chloe shakes her head. No, Mark. This is my family, my responsibility. I can't ask you for that. It wouldn't be right. You've already done so much for me. Scene shifts to Grandma's old, weathered house. Chloe is on the phone, sounding defeated. Chloe, yes, I understand. No other options. Thank you. She hangs up and looks at her grandma, who is sitting in a rocking chair, looking sadly around the room. I'm so sorry, Grandma. I tried everything. We might have to sell. Grandma pats Chloe's hand gently. Oh, dearie. This old house has seen its day, just like me. What matters isn't the wood and nails, but the memories we made here. And we'll make new ones wherever we go, as long as we're together. Don't you worry your pretty head about me? Scene shifts to an elegant office. Chloe sits nervously opposite Miss Evans, a sharp-looking bank manager. Mark stands supportively behind Chloe. Ms. Evans, looking over paperwork. Ms. Adams, your initial application was unconventional. However, your subsequent proposal, this community heritage project, is impressive. The plan to restore the house not just as a home, but as a local history hub, complete with detailed cost breakdowns and letters of support from the town council, it's brilliant. Chloe, surprised. So, you'll approve the loan? Ms. Evans smiles. We're not just approving the loan. The bank's community foundation wants to partner with you. This is exactly the kind of initiative we want to support. Congratulations, your grandmother's home is saved. Final scene. Chloe, Mark, and Grandma stand outside the beautifully restored house. A small plaque by the door reads, The Adams Heritage Home. Grandma, tears in her eyes. I never dreamed, It's more beautiful than ever. You did this, Chloe. You have a heart of gold and a will of steel. Chloe, hugging her grandma and Mark. We did this together. Sometimes when one door closes, you just have to build a new one. Thank you so much for watching our story. If you were touched by this journey of family and perseverance, please hit that like button and subscribe for more uplifting content. We'll see you in the next video. Picture this. An immaculate dining room crowded with relatives who've watched you grow up. Every single one of them turns to stare when your brother, in a suit that probably cost more than your student loans, casually announces he's tripling your rent to $7,200. He stood by the fireplace like a king holding court, his tumbler of whiskey catching the light, a condescending smile never leaving his lips. His voice was cool and utterly sure. He truly believed he'd just delivered a masterclass in tough love, that he'd finally put the dreamer of the family in her proper place. What he didn't know was that in 15 minutes, his entire understanding of our family, power, and who really owned what was about to implode. If you've ever been looked down on by someone who shares your bloodline, then you'll understand. Because sometimes patience isn't about waiting. It's a calculated strategy, coiled and ready to strike. My name is Chloe, and growing up as Mark's little sister was like being a permanent resident in his shadow. He was the prodigy from day one. Stanford Business School, top of his class, a VP by 32, the living, breathing fulfillment of our family's ambitions. The constant celebration of his achievements made it painfully clear there was no spotlight left for me. I was the artistic one, the sensitive one, the one they described as having such a gentle soul at holidays when they couldn't think of a real accomplishment. Did you hear Mark led the corporate acquisition? Uncle Robert would boom. Then the obligatory pitying glance in my direction. And Chloe, you're still painting, yes? Yes, I was still painting. And I was building a life I loved, running a small studio gallery that actually turned a profit, but passion didn't translate to prestige in our world. Mark's success was the benchmark. Mine was a hobby. For 6 years, I de-lived in a spacious loft in one of our grandmother's older buildings in the arts district. Mark managed the property for the family, a fact he mentioned as often as he could. Most people in your line of work couldn't afford this neighborhood, he'd say, his smile as polished as his shoes. And for the longest time, I believed him. I paid my rent on time every single month. Even when the air conditioning died in the middle of July, even when it took him 4 months to repair a leak that warped my original hardwood floors, I never made a fuss. In his narrative, I was the grateful, struggling artist, forever in his debt. Then, 2 years before that Thursday evening, everything changed. It started with Grandma. Every Tuesday, I'd visit her to help sort through her accounts. At 89, her mind was still a steel trap, but she trusted me with the labyrinthine paperwork her financial advisor sent. Those afternoons, surrounded by the scent of her lavender sachets and old paper, are some of my fondest memories. One night, as the sun bled orange behind her sycamore trees, she pressed a small, creased business card into my palm. "Your brother is a force of nature," she'd said, her voice soft but firm, "but he only sees the board, not all the pieces. The quiet ones see the whole game, Chloe. Remember that when the time is right." I didn't understand, not then. A few months after she passed, her private lawyer, someone Mark had never even met, contacted me. Grandma had left me a separate inheritance, completely distinct from the main family trust. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a foundation. It was enough to change the game. The following 18 months were my silent revolution. While Mark was lecturing me about financial literacy and real-world pressures, I was taking online courses in real estate law, networking with contractors, and quietly establishing my own company, Havenstone Properties, LLC. I stopped seeking his approval and started building my own empire. It was then I discovered, through public records, that the building I lived in was saddled with a massive balloon payment the current owner couldn't meet. He was desperate for a quick, quiet sale. So I made him an offer, a clean, cash-backed offer through Havenstone. He accepted. And just like that, I became the legal owner of the building my brother so confidently managed. Mark never noticed. He was too busy collecting accolades and a management fee for a property I was now running. He had still sworn into family events, talking about the portfolio he oversaw, completely unaware that for 2 years, his little sister had been his actual landlord. The irony was a private sustenance. Then came the night, our parents' living room. A dozen relatives, dessert plates cleared, coffee served. Mark, positioning himself by the mantelpiece, decided it was time for my reckoning. "Your current rent is $2,800, he stated, as if reading from a corporate brief. "That's a significant discount. Comparable lofts in the district are leasing for $7,000 and up. I've been effectively subsidizing your lifestyle for 6 years." He said it with a straight face, as if he were a philanthropist. Aunt Carol clutched her pearls. "Mark, it's so generous of you." He waved a dismissive hand. "It's not about generosity, it's about responsibility. Chloe needs to learn to navigate the real economy. So, effective immediately, your rent is $7,200. The room went dead silent. All eyes swiveled to me, the family idealist. I glanced at my parents, hoping for an ally, but they just studied their hands. Mark slid a new lease across the coffee table. "Sign it tonight." I looked at the document, then at my phone. A single text glowed on the screen, 5 minutes away. Mark mistook my silence for shock. To be perfectly transparent, he said, pulling up a spreadsheet on his tablet, here are the listings. 7,500, 8,000, even 8,200. I'm giving you a break at 72. My phone vibrated softly. Here, Uncle David shifted in his armchair. Mark, that's quite an increase. It's the market rate, Mark replied, his smile tight. Successful people understand market rates. And Chloe is an entrepreneur, after all. She should appreciate this. A low chuckle rippled through the room. My cousin Brian smirked. Guess you'll have to sell a lot of watercolors, Chloe. I could feel their collective pity, a thick, smothering blanket. The hopeless artist finally being held accountable. Mark leaned in, his voice dripping with false concern. Sign the lease, or I'll need the keys. I already have a team of investment bankers ready to move in at 7-5. His ultimatum hung in the air, and I almost felt sorry for him. He had just handed me the keys to his own humiliation, because the building he thought he ruled, the foundation of his superiority over me, every single brick and beam of it was mine. The doorbell chimed, crisp and clear. Mark sighed with theatrical irritation. Who could that be? I stood, smoothing down my simple dress. Every single relative watched me cross the room. I opened the door to a woman in a sharp, professional blazer, carrying a leather portfolio. Good evening, she said calmly. I turned to face the room. Everyone, this is Miss Evans. Mark's eyebrows shot up. Your real estate agent? He sneered. Actually, I said, my voice steady. She represents Havenstone Properties, LLC. Miss Evans moved to the center of the room, her presence commanding an immediate, respectful silence. She began placing neat, stapled packets into the hands of my stunned relatives. Good evening. I'm here on behalf of the ownership entity for this property, Havenstone Properties. She let the name settle. We're conducting an audit of all tenant management records. Confusion erupted. Mark's confident mask slipped. Wait, tenant records? What is this? I manage this building. Not anymore, Mr. Evans, she replied, adjusting her glasses. Havenstone Properties purchased this asset 2 years ago. I'm here to rectify some administrative discrepancies. The color drained from Mark's face. That's impossible. I would have been notified of any sale. I would have seen it. I took a single step forward. You didn't see it because you never bothered to look past your own assumptions, Mark. You were too busy teaching me about the real world to notice I was building my own right beneath your feet. The whispers were frantic now. She owns it? My mother whispered, her face pale. Mark spun toward me, a furious tremor in his hands. This is a lie. This is some pathetic stunt. Ms. Evans placed a thick stack of documents on the coffee table with a definitive thud. Deeds, tax filings, insurance binders. All legally executed and filed under a single name, she stated. Chloe Evans, she is the sole owner and has been for the past 2 years. The silence was absolute. Mark looked like he'd been gut punched. No, this can't be. I held his gaze, unwavering. You just tried to triple my rent in a building I own. You tried to evict me from my own home in front of our entire family to prove a point. The room erupted. Aunt Carol gasped. My father simply stared, his mouth agape. Mark shook his head, his composure crumbling into disbelief. You set me up? No, I said, my voice firm and clear. I just stopped playing the role you wrote for me. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The power he had wielded so effortlessly was gone. Ms. Evans, I continued, could you please clarify my brother's tenancy status? She consulted her file. Certainly. Mark Evans resides in Unit 3B under a verbal month-to-month agreement. As a tenant of Havenstone, he is subject to the same terms as any other resident. The gasp was collective. Mark actually stumbled back a step. My ... unit, he choked out. I nodded. Yes, you raised my rent in a building where you're just a tenant. Do you get it now? All your posturing, your condescending advice, it was all for the benefit of your landlord. He looked around the room, desperate for an ally, but found only stunned faces. For the first time in our lives, no one rushed to his defense. The market rate for your unit is actually $7,800, I said. I've been giving you a family discount, but since you believe those are a sign of weakness, consider it revoked. You can expect a new lease from Havenstone by the end of the week. Ms. Evans closed her portfolio with a sharp click. My business here is complete. She shook my hand, nodded to the room, and left. The aftermath was a silent, beautiful chaos. Mark collapsed into a chair, his face ashen. I didn't wait for the fallout. I turned and walked out, leaving the weight of their judgment and his arrogance behind me. The cool night air had never felt more like freedom. I hadn't sought revenge. I had simply claimed what was mine. And in doing so, I had rewritten our story forever. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever felt underestimated, I hope this reminds you of your own power. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this one. See you next time.